Hey, what's up? My name is Brian Henderson. I'm a tenured professor both in the Department of Physics and also in the College of Education. And so I wanted to say hey and give you this welcome video that provides some of the deets about the course. Now, most of what I'm about to say you can find in multiple places on Canvas, but kind of a general theme of this class is that we try to provide lots and lots of resources, and then students figure out which resources work best for them. And so I kind of wanted to provide you in video form an overview of how the class is structured, and hopefully it gets at some questions you might have about the class. And so this class has a grading scheme where 60% of the course grade is going to be based upon your unit tests. And so there's going to be 3 unit tests. And so the total score on your unit tests is going to be 60%. However, you're going to get to drop one of those, and I'll say more about that in a moment. Your final exam is going to be worth 30%. And so the tests, both the unit tests, which are 3, you can think of those as midterms, and the final exam are 90% of your grade. And so 10% of your grade is homework. And so you might think, well, there's not a lot of incentive to do the homework, but it turns out that there's tremendous incentive to do the homework, because what I do is I go through the homework and then I write the tests based on questions that you find on the homework. So even though only 10% of your course grade is your homework score, if you practice homework problems, it is going to very much prepare you for the exams, upon which the items on the exams are based on the homework. And I'm telling you right now, there's probably no better use of your time in this class than to try to solve as many homework type problems as you can, because the exams are about solving problems and doing so on your own. And I'll say more about that in a moment too. Now, in addition, you're also given a couple of extra credit opportunities, which takes you up to 105% for the course. So that's a half of a letter grade boost right there. So I mentioned the homework problem sets and how important it is to solve problems in this class. And so the exams, as I mentioned, are based upon the homework. And what you need to do is you need to learn how to solve these problems on your own. It's totally okay to use, say, artificial intelligence to provide hints, to potentially generate alternative versions of problems for you to solve, to maybe like help you as a tutor. But at the end of the day, since 90% of this course grade is based upon your performance on exams, you're going to have to be able to solve these problems on your own. So look at generative artificial intelligence as a potential tutor, as a tool that can help you learn to solve problems on your own. But ultimately, most of your course grade is based on you solving the problems, not having artificial intelligence solve it for you. Okay, so when you are doing your exams, here's a key thing to keep in mind. It's not enough when HonorLock proctors the exams and there's a video camera on, it's not enough just to see your face. You have to see both your face, and as you're doing your work, we need to see you doing the work. Okay, so you're going to need to make adjustments now. If your built-in camera doesn't allow us to see both your face and your work as you're doing it, you're going to have to purchase another camera. This is a requirement for the course now. We have to see students doing the work on video. And in addition, once you submit an answer, you need to hold up to the camera for 3 seconds the work behind the answer you're submitting for credit. And then at the end of the exam, you need to upload scanned versions of that work that you used to arrive at the answers that you submitted for credit. This is also the case for your homework problem sets. We want you to scan and upload the work that you use to arrive at the answers that you submit for credit. Not to worry if you think that this is going to like impede on the amount of time. I have increased the exam time substantially to account for these extra guidelines that need to be followed. You will see these guidelines at multiple places on Canvas about your camera placement and about uploading work. If you do not upload your work, or you do not have a camera that shows us both you and your work as you're doing it, then I reserve the right to give you a 0 for that work. And if there are multiple offenses, I reserve the right to give you a 0 for the entire course. So please try to pay mind to these guidelines about test taking, how the camera is placed, and how we need you to show your work both for your exams and also for your problem sets. So this might seem a little intimidating, but I promise you that this class has, in addition to giving you extra time on these exams, it has lots of built-in mechanisms to respect the fact that you have other things going on in your life. And I want you to know that I respect that you have lots and lots and lots of other things in addition to just this class. First and foremost, ASU Online has a full semester of material condensed into just half a semester. And that in itself is an incredibly rapid pace. And so I want to very much acknowledge that you have other things going on. And so I have built in a number of opportunities to drop low scores, and I've also built in flexible deadlines. So in terms of drops, remember how there's 3 unit tests that make up 60% of your grade? Well, of those 3, you have the opportunity to drop your lowest one. So technically, only 2 of your 3 midterm scores is going to go towards that 60% of your course grade. Now, that being said, you're not able to drop the final exam. Okay? And so with homework, you're going to actually be able to drop 3 of your lowest homework scores. So you'll drop your lowest of your 3 unit test scores, and you'll be able to drop 3 of your homework scores. And the idea here is that you need to think about this as a rainy day fund, okay? Things happen. You might not have been able to get that homework done. You might not have been able to be in attendance for one of the exams. So look at this as something that you can use down the line when you need it. I strongly advise you not to look at this as an opportunity to not engage as much in the class at first, and then when you actually do need some special assistance with scheduling, you've already used these things that I'm giving you up front, okay? And so it's been my experience that students can get very upset when I say no for additional special requests, when the reality is that I'm saying yes, yes, yes many times up front. And so please use these abilities to drop low scores wisely and save them for when you really, really need them. Another thing that I've built into the course to be respectful of your busy schedules is flexible deadlines. So with a course that covers a semester of material in just half a semester, it really is crucial that we make steady progress. If you get behind, it can be really hard to catch up. And I think that it's actually a disservice to students if I let them get too far behind. That's part of why I give lots of drops up front, but I'm not going to grant a lot of additional special exceptions. Now, if your life circumstances are such that even with the 3 homework drops, even with the midterm drop, and even with flexible deadlines, if you're still not able to keep up with the course, I think at that point, circumstances warrant potentially a compassionate withdrawal, where we could explore having to withdraw from the course without it showing up on your transcript, because the circumstances of the time just weren't amenable to the course, at least taking the course right now. And so just know that when it comes to special requests, while I will grant opportunities to take exams early, very rarely I'm going to push exam deadlines back. Very rarely am I going to give additional drops beyond the ones that I'm already giving you, because I believe that I'm already giving you a healthy amount of flexibility. I mentioned the flexible deadlines. Now, the flexible deadlines mean that while you'll see on your assignments that there's a suggested due date, and that's suggested to kind of keep that gradual pace that you need to keep when you have a class that's so condensed, I really believe it's good to have guidelines as to what is a decent pace to stay on top of the material. But that being said, even though there are suggested due dates, technically when there are assignments that you need to complete, you can technically complete them all the way until the next exam closes, okay? And so for example, you have your first unit test, your first midterm coming up. All the assignments that have suggested due dates before the close of the first unit test, technically those assignments will be available all the way until that first exam closes. And if you turn them in at any time, you're not going to be penalized for late work. But that being said, you're going to see suggested due dates, and that is a suggestion to go through this class at a pace that you need to go to cover a whole semester of material in just half a semester. So that's the course special request policy. And now, when it comes to resources, as I mentioned, we try to offer lots and lots of different resources in this class. And then you don't have to feel like you have to use every single resource. The hope is that different resources might work better for different students. And so find the combination of resources that works best for you. I'd rather offer too many resources than too few. And so, for example, there's 2 different textbooks. And so you might find in the textbooks that there are certain examples that you like in one textbook better than the other, or perhaps you like the way one textbook's written better than the other, okay? And so you have homework assignments that you have to submit through Pearson Mastering Physics. And so you have to have that platform to do the homework. But when you have that platform, you essentially de facto get the Pearson ebook for free. So that's one textbook. And then you're also going to notice that there's these perusal reading assignments. Perusal is based upon a free OpenStax textbook. Now, because of past experiences and seeing how much students are trying to juggle with these accelerated courses, I've decided to make perusal optional. In the past, I made it required, but students already have so much to do when they're doing a semester in just half of a semester. So I decided instead to make perusal optional. So that being said, I highly recommend it because perusal is a way in which you can interact with your classmates. If you find yourself confused by what the textbook says, you can annotate it and seek clarification from other students. Being interactive with your other students can be powerful in terms of your learning. And so again, perusal is based on the OpenStax textbook. While you will get a score on perusal based upon the amount of interaction you get as a form of feedback, you're not going to have perusal scores count towards your grade at all. 0% of your course grade is based upon perusal. You have to have the Pearson Mastering Physics to do the homework, and you'll find that when you have that platform, you also get access to the Pearson ebook. Now, as far as course lectures, you're going to find that there are long-form lectures that had been given in previous versions of this course, and I'm leaving those up there because some people might like to have a long-form lecture. But I also believe that it can be helpful to make smaller module lectures which are easier to reference than a long lecture, which, you might forget which part of the lecture, was this particular part. If you take a lecture and break it into smaller bits, I think that modular approach can be helpful for some students in terms of being able to quickly reference certain topics and also use them in different combinations. And so what I've been doing is creating a series of smaller lecture videos. And right now there's 3 main flavors of these lecture videos. And so one flavor is what I call physics without equations. And this is in a class where it's highly mathematical. I try to break down concepts without the specific use of mathematical equations. Now, there's another series called Tales from the Whiteboard, and in that case, it's very much equations. And that's where I show you how to go through the mathematical manipulations to solve problems. And then there's a third flavor, and this is based upon my research in science education. How people learn science is something that's very, very, very important to me. And so I also have a series of videos called How People Learn Physics. And in those videos, I share some ideas about ways in which we can study and ways in which, based upon research, might optimize the way in which we learn a science like physics. So again, you can look at these different resources and you can pick and choose which ones work best for you. You're not required, you're not expected to use all of them. Some people might like the long form videos better. Some people might like the smaller module videos better. We also have discussion boards. You'll notice that for every assignment, there's a discussion board, and this is another chance for you to interact with your peers, to share ideas, to help each other out. And during the course, we'll be providing you additional links, additional resources, such as additional problems and the solutions to those problems. As I mentioned before, there's no substitute for going through lots and lots and lots of problems and learning how to work these problems out on your own. And then there's also links to external explanations in video form beyond the Canvas page. So when it comes to interacting with myself, I'm going to be sending out a scheduler to see which times for office hours might be able to benefit the most students. But if you do not find that any of the times that I send out work for you, or when we ultimately do find a time that works for the most students but it doesn't work for you, not to worry. What I'm going to do during every office hours is I'm going to ask the students, if I can get their permission to record the office hours, and then I can share that recording so that you can watch it on demand. And so another resource that I've created is a chat bot called Virtual Dr. Henderson. And so what I did is I essentially uploaded the syllabus to the course, and I also uploaded all my lecture notes. And so in addition to emailing me, if you have a query with the Virtual Dr. Henderson chatbot, it can provide you rapid responses to course information. So it's probably going to be a lot faster just to go to the chatbot and ask questions about the syllabus than it would be to send me an email. So I highly encourage you, if you have a question, perhaps your first stop is the Virtual Dr. Henderson chatbot. And then by all means, if the Virtual Dr. Henderson chatbot doesn't answer your question, don't hesitate to reach out to me. So that's a bit of an overview of how the course is graded, what the particular drops and flexible deadlines and special request policy is, what resources are on offer, a little heads up about office hours, and as I mentioned, all of this can be queried through this Virtual Dr. Henderson chatbot to provide rapid answers to questions you might have about the course. So thanks for sticking with me. I very much welcome you to the course. I welcome you to our learning community, and I'm wishing you all the best in this course. You take care.